Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hobby Lodge, and as promised I would do a monthly pickups video. So this is that pickups video. I'm not really going to go into much else apart from the stuff I've been up to and the things I've picked up in about the last months. So enjoy, and hopefully it's a little bit different from the usual one and you might like it. And if you do, let me know, give me some feedback. Alright, enjoy. It seems only right to be over in Commodore Corner to talk about some of the recent Amiga and Commodore 64 pickups I've had. So let's just go through those. Kicking off with some games from Cytronics. Now, Cytronics are well known for their Commodore 64 homebrew. I absolutely love the company. It does a fantastic job, creates brilliant products, works with great programmers, and produces some really cracking games. Now, the new thing they've been doing recently is moving to that kind of collectible collection. Definitely a collection of words. Collectible collection of like hit squads and kicks akin to those types of games that we got when we were young, and that is where they keep the same covers. They obviously have the game art, but it has that feel, gives them numbers, makes them feel very, very collectible. So I already have the first 5, and I have the next 4 that have been released. So Avalon, and you can see there the nice way they've kind of the colour styled it, and yeah, made it look very uniform with all the other tapes. So Avalon there, which is a puzzle maze game, sort of medieval setting. You're fighting knights, you're searching for treasure, you're trying to form this magical sword to take on the bad guy at the end, but you've got to make your way through a maze, and to do so you've got to collect items. Now you have to collect those items in a very specific order to be able to progress through the maze, and it's one of those games that once you've made a mistake you've pretty much got to start again. It's quite unforgiving in that respect, so it has to be your type of game to be willing to go through memorizing where you got to go, who you got to kill to get the next item to go and kill the next bad guy, and so on and so forth. But if you're into that kind of game, you're like Avalon. Next up, or Avalan. Next up, you've got a Ladybird. Now, Ladybird is a game where, again, I would call this a puzzle maze game, but a bit more forgiving than Avalan in that you don't instantly die if you get it in the wrong order. You can go back and work your way through the game to find where the item is that you need to then progress. All takes place on a single screen, so very easy to navigate the maze, as it were, but there are bad guys to avoid, there's traps to avoid, there's things you need to activate with certain items to get you through to the next level. So yeah, Ladybird is a nice little game, well presented, much slower pace, much calmer, easier to play, and more forgiving. Next up we have Polar Bear in Space. Now, you would have seen Polar Bear in Space before. In fact, I've live streamed this game before. I have this on its original release on tape. I think it got tape and cartridge and disc, I believe, back in the day. So this is the first time they've released a game on this collection. So that's probably telling you that they probably will be releasing most of their games, and that would be the only time that I'm a bit not upset, but a bit like, I've already bought the game and now it's going to come out on this collectible. So if you want to collect all your numbers, you're probably going to end up owning some games twice, which is a bit of a negative, but it's not too bad. It is a great game, however. It's a fun split between an action platformer and a shoot 'em up. At the beginning of the levels, you're sort of jumping around a screen, trying to find doors to open, shooting enemies in a kind of almost side-scrolling shoot 'em up style. And then once you've gotten to a security door and you've managed to solve the puzzle to get through it, you're then into an action platformer. So yeah, it's a really fun little game. The graphics are really good, the music's nice, and the polar bear in it is super cute, and it has some great move mechanics. I think they've done a really good job in animating that polar bear on the Commodore 64. And last up is quite a unique game, probably the pick of the 4, I would say, and it's Poir Noir. Yeah, Poir Noir. It's all done in black and white, so very sort of, you know, theatrical, as it were, in that kind of style, where you're a private eye pussycat with your trench coat, and the damsel in distress is looking for her balls of yarn, golden balls of yarn even, and she's lost them all, and you're going to help find them. So you're going to navigate these levels, and again, it's a bit of a puzzler, puzzle platforming game, and you use your 9 lives that any cat has. Of course, cats have 9 lives. You use your 9 lives to navigate these levels. So the cool mechanic is, as the cat, you get as far as you can. Maybe there's a jump that's too far that you can't manage, so you kill yourself, use your body to make the jump a little bit smaller, push your body out a bit into the ledge, jump on top of your body, and then make the gap. Or maybe you need to make yourself a couple of bodies to make a little bit of a stairwell. Maybe you need to use one of your bodies to protect you from being shot by the bad guys that are in the level. So it's that mechanic of, you've got these 9 lives each time you go into a new screen, so use those 9 lives to find your way through the level. So I think that's quite a cool little mechanic, and it's done in a really stylized way. It looks fantastically good on the Commodore. And yeah, Point Noir is Point Noir. I keep saying Point Noir. It's a difficult thing to say. It's really unique kind of game, and definitely worth checking out. Let's move on to the Amiga. I've picked up, first of all, some homebrew on the Amiga, and physical homebrew on the Amiga is quite rare. So I'm really happy to have this. And this is Ooze the Escape. It is a game that you may have seen before, because I have played this on the Spectrum, and it runs really well on the Spectrum. I know I'm a Commodore guy through and through, so hearing me talk positively about Spectrum is you know, rare, but it does happen. But no, this is actually one of those games that's really good on the Spectrum. So I wanted to pick it up on the Amiga to see how it was, and it's actually very different. Of course it would be from a graphical standpoint, but it plays quite differently, and the objective is still the same game, but it has a different feel to it when you're playing. This one, I would say, is actually a little bit easier than the Spectrum version. But yeah, it comes in this nice little CD case, but inside you've got a little, almost like a business card there, advertisement, and if I can just grip that out of the way, you can see the disc is in there. It is installable, so if you have an Amiga with a hard drive, you can take this, you can install it to your drive, and you don't have to use a disc anymore. But of course, it's always nice to stick the disc in and load it like you would back in the day. And then we've picked up some actually traditional Amiga games. I was on a bit of a kick. I wanted to get all of the Warhammer games for the Amiga. You know, I'm big into my Warhammer stuff. I've got it all over the room. And Hero Quest was the first I had to pick up. So Hero Quest is a fantastic board game. I have a fully painted Hero Quest board game that I just absolutely adore. It's one of my favourite board games of all time. So it felt only right to have a proper boxed copy of it on the Amiga. Of course, I've got this on WHD Load, but I wanted to own it. And this was a really nice, complete edition of it. And I now have it in one of these box protectors, just to keep it nice, you know. I probably won't be using the discs out of this. Like I say, I have it on WHD Load, but it is nice to have it with the manual, and I think there's a little poster in there and all bits and pieces. So Hero Quest was a good pickup, I think, on the Amiga. And following that trend of getting board games from Warhammer on the Amiga, we've got Space Hulk. So this is another one that some people might remember as a board game from when they were a kid. Done by Warhammer. You take the role of a bunch of Terminators, killing Tyranids, wiping them out from spaceships, and yeah, going to war, ultimately probably being torn to pieces by Tyranids as you get overrun with your squad of 4. So yeah, Space Hulk, again, it's complete in the box. I haven't got a protector for this yet. One of the killers with Amiga games is the myriad of different sizes they come in, and therefore the myriad of different box protectors you need if you're going to go down the route of putting them in something. But I will get them and get that one nicely protected. And last up, another board game, Space Crusade. Very akin to Hero Quest, Hero Quest in space, essentially, with Space Marines, again, killing all sorts of 40k universe. I think it's Tyranids again in this one, but yes, very simply, lovely looking, great box arts. I mean, you cannot complain about how nice these look. But yeah, if you've played Hero Quest, this plays exactly the same as Hero Quest from a style of play, but it takes place in the 40k universe rather than the fantasy universe. So yeah, really happy to have that one. And it's nice because I'll be able to pop those on display on my shelf, and it'll fit in with all the other Warhammer 40k fantasy stuff I have in the room. And last but not least was a game that I'm really looking forward to playing, actually, and I wouldn't mind live streaming this. I don't know how well it will live stream because it's quite a slow paced game, but I really want to play through this, and it is Dungeons and Dragons The Eye of the Beholder 2. So this follows the Dungeons and Dragons rule set. Again, another tabletop system I really love, but obviously again in a video game format. You take control of up to 4 different characters. You're trying to get through the quest, solve the mysteries, solve the puzzles, take out the bad guy, save the world, playing loads of different classes from barbarians, wizards, thieves and so on, and seeing if you can survive the many dungeons you will be delving through and monsters you will be fighting. So yeah, it plays really nicely. It is from a first person point of view, and you sort of click to navigate your way through mazes, picking up items, learning spells, fighting monsters, solving puzzles, all of that jazz. So yeah, really looking forward to actually getting down and playing this one very soon. We've even picked up some new model kits recently, in that I wanted to pick up some Combat Patrol. So Combat Patrol is a method of playing Warhammer 40k in a much more scaled down fashion. Each of the packs of the models are designed to fight against each other, to make it a lot more easier for you to maybe get your forces up and running, have a great tabletop battle with someone in a fairly equal force. So me and my son James, we're getting ready for Adepticon next month. So Adepticon, huge event taking place in the US. It's a 4-day convention, all based around tabletop wargaming. And when we go out there, we want to take a couple of forces out there with us, so we could play some games whilst also being in and around the convention area. So the thing I've picked up was the Grey Knights Combat Patrol. So this is quite a cool collection of models. I'm loving the kind of big mech there, but we've got some Terminators, some Space Marines, a big old mech, and I've already started painting this. So this is mostly just empty sprues in here because I've got to be quick. I need to get this built, painted and ready for next month. So it's on the painting table already, and we're going to get it up and ready to go. Now when I get back from that, there is another collection that I want to paint. I've always wanted to do orcs. I've done some orcs every now and then, but I've never painted a proper little army. So the army I'm going to be doing is this Combat Patrol, and this is the orcs. You can see mechs and flying contraptions, the boys with their various horrific weaponry, but I'm going to paint this up. Obviously normally they have a kind of very clean paint job, but I want to do this in a really grimy way. Like, these orcs are just, you know, covered in oil. They are building machines out of whatever parts they can land their hands on. They're doing all of that kind of stuff. So I painted a miniature for my good friend Nerdy Geezer a while ago as a dreadnought, and we did that in a really grimy style, and I loved how it came out. So I want to do a whole force in that. So when I get back from Adepticon, this is going to be the next project I do, which is some orky, grimy, kind of you know, that sort of thing. Can only be described in a noise. I guess in an orc noise it'd be a wah, but something like that is what I want to do with these guys, to have another force to play. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing in the hobby space. Okay, let's talk about some games and movie pickups then. So first of all is a gift from Retro Ed, and that is Super Metroid on the Super Nintendo. He showed this off on a recent swap shop. Shout out to the chef from the swap shop. I know he'll like that. We've got this, and when I met up with him at a recent toy event, he gifted this to me, which is always amazing. Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, I mean, it's a lovely little nick, and of course, what a classic, brilliant game that I didn't own the cartridge to. So yeah, really happy to add this to my little SNES collection. Up next was a game called Abathor. Now this is a game that probably everyone's heard about. There's been a load of various video game channels and YouTubers talking about this game. It's gotten a lot of press, so I figured I would buckle in, whatever you want to call it, into the pressure and get this game picked up. So yes, we have Abathor on the Switch. It's a very Rygor Golden Axe crossover type of a game, yeah, from what I've seen, it plays really nicely, it looks really nice, so very nice to add that to the collection. Then we've got some movies. First up, Again, I think I spoke about Spectrum and the some of the homebrew games, how they've been playing. Well, look at this. I've now got the Rubber Key Wonder Spectrum documentary in this lovely slipcase that it comes in, where you've got a sci-fi side and a fantasy side. But if I slide that out quickly, you can see what it is. It is the special edition of the Rubber Key Wonder documentary, which I must admit, I'm a sucker for a technology documentary. I love them all, whether it's the Nintendo, Sega, Microsoft, Apple, Commodore, all of the great stories about how these organisations came together, did the cool stuff they did, and then sometimes had a pretty terrible demise, or have gone on to become the giants that they are. So yeah, I love these kind of things, and this is a really, really well done documentary. It's interesting from start to finish. It's much longer than you think, but doesn't, you know, it's not an unwelcome length. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, absolute quality. Definitely worth picking up. If you can get the special edition, you'll find that the second CD has a focus on lots of the games, the creators of those games. So if you can, I would recommend trying to get the special edition. If you can't, the documentary is well worth it. I've only seen this digitally, sorry, physically. I've not seen any way to watch this documentary digitally, legally that is. There's no way to buy it on any platforms like Amazon and such, so you've got to get out there and get to the DVD or the Blu-ray, which is what I have, if you can, and the special edition if you can. This was another gift. So this gift was from Nerdy Geezer, and he gifted me a Batman collection of video, sort of the cartoons, the movie length cartoons. There's 5 movies on here on Blu-ray, and he gifted this to me. I said to him, I haven't really seen it. I love the TV show from being a kid, but I hadn't seen many of the movies, so definitely interested in watching some of these. So yeah. Thank you very much, Lee, and I will enjoy and feedback probably on the next podcast. Actually, I'm going to try and get these watched before the next podcast so I can talk about these. Up next, some pickups from the Retro Realm. The Retro Realm is Sega Zombie's shop up in Ipswich, and you should definitely go up there if you anywhere within a couple of hours. If you can get to his shop, go and check him out. Awesome collection of stuff. You will find something. I wouldn't even call it a retro gaming shop. I'd call it a nostalgia shop. It is full of everything you could possibly want or think about as a young person growing up in the 80s or the 90s. You're going to see stuff there and you're going to get excited about it. So I picked up a couple of movies from him because I think he'd upgraded some of these to 4K or something. But I picked up Kroll and I picked up Clash of the Titans. Now, I'm on a big kick for all of the old fantasy movies. I've spoken before, Lord of the Rings trilogy is my favourite series of all time, 3 movies. I've owned that set in 4K, and that would be lovely to go back and pick up some of those other classic fantasy movies from back in the time, and you cannot go wrong with Clash of the Titans or Kroll. Fantastic. And Kroll even slips into a bit of sci-fi, what a collection of films. So yeah, really happy to have those. I saw this one when I was out and about, and I had to pick it up. So this is, I suppose it's not a fantasy film, but certainly a sci-fi film, and that is the original Terminator on 4K. Absolute class film. I feel like as I get older, I start to appreciate some of these firsts rather than the seconds. You know, the more you watch Alien over Aliens, although Aliens is such an amazing movie, but Alien, it just goes up and up and up, and I think as you get older, you appreciate it more. And the same with Terminator. Terminator 2 is an amazing movie that we all love dearly. But Terminator 1 just keeps coming back and just keeps showing me how much of a cool movie it was. Yeah, so I figured having that on 4K was well worth seeing. So I look forward to that. And then lastly, talked about getting some of those iconic fantasy movies. This is a fantasy movie to me. I know it takes place in modern day, but it's fantasy, and that is Highlander. There's magic in it, there's sword fighting in it, and it's got the best soundtrack of a movie ever. I mean, is it even a movie? Is it not just an hour and 20 minutes long music video? You know, the movie would have been a bit meh if it wasn't for Queen coming in and doing it, but the combination of Highlander and Queen coming together means you get a fantastic movie, and everyone has seen or should have seen Highlander, and now I have it on 4K to enjoy both the visual and the audible bit of it. So now let's bring it in close. Let's bring it down to the little toy collection I have behind me. There's toys throughout this entire lodge, but it'd be nice to show you some bits I picked up from a recent trip to the Sandown Racecourse Toy Fair. Went there with my good friends Nerdy Geezer, Retro Chef, and I even met some other tubers there, like Retro Ed, who gave me that Super Nintendo game. But whilst I was there, I picked up a couple of bits. First of all, Lee gave me a gift, Nerdy Geezer gave me a gift, and it was this Street Fighter 2 t-shirt, which is very, very cool. Ryu there, nice little Street Fighter logo on the front. It is the Japanese, so there we go. Yeah, really, really nice. So thank you, Lee, for that. That will definitely be worn in many a video. But yeah, I went to the toy fair with something in mind to pick up. I wanted to get a whip for a character called Leoric. He's from the Visionaries. He's the leader of the good guys, the Spectral Knights in the Visionaries, and I have him behind me here, but I didn't have his whip. Well, if you're keen-eyed, you can now see he has his whip in his hand. So that was one of the main things I wanted to get. I knew I'd find it in a bits bag somewhere, but actually there was a guy who had him all bagged up, all of the weapons for the various Visionaries, so I was really happy with that. And then whilst I was there, I thought, you know what, my favourite character from the Visionaries, from the Spectral Knights, is Witterquick. Witterquick was the character who could, from his staff, summon a tornado that made him run super fast. You know, his character could change into a cheetah and run short distances very fast, and then he could use his staff to spin up into a super fast light speed sort of tornado to fly across great distances very quickly. Of course, they could only use their staffs once before they had to recharge, and he would often get caught by the bad guys, who would just eventually catch up with him and then get him caught again. But yeah, Witterquick was my favourite character. I always, if I could have been someone from Visionaries, it would have been Witterquick. So I managed to pick up a fully complete edition of him, so I'll get him based and he'll be standing there with Leoric, protecting against the bad guys. And next up, I wanted to pick up one of these. I've been wanting to get one for such a long time, and I finally got one, and it is a Mighty Max. I'll do some little footage of these all on their own outside of the bags. But yeah, Mighty Max, it's the boys' versions of Polly Pocket. Little play scenes, little tiny characters, and this is the one I had. So I had to have the exact one. You see them pop up all the time, but it was the purple skull that I knew I needed to have. And inside here is Dr. Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster, and Little Max, and it's a laboratory scene. And that's what I used to have when I was young and play with. But yeah, really, really happy to have this. And again, they do come around, but it's nice to find them complete. All of the parts are there, and this is exactly one of those. So that was that. And then the final piece, which I wasn't expecting to see, but I am super glad I did, and I'm super glad I picked up, was this. It is the Mario watch. The Game & Watch, the actual watch, not just the little handhelds. The Mario Brothers 3 is the one I had when I was young. This was on a random stall. Obviously, it's a toy fair, so at toy fairs, you're obviously expecting to see toys. There's very rarely video game stuff there. From what I hear anyway, I haven't been to a whole load of them. And there was a smattering of it here and there. It wasn't very much, but a little bit of a little bit of video gaming here and there. But this was there. I saw it. We were in the early bird. There's no way this would have stood on the side for very long. And the moment I saw it, I knew I had to have it. So it's in absolute perfect condition. I 3D printed this little watch stand for it to go on, but it's in perfect condition. There's not a blemish on it, which I cannot believe. And its screen is vibrant and working. And yeah, I now have my little Mario 3 watch, and this is going to become a watch I wear. I'm currently finding a new strap for it because the strap that's on this is too small for my wrist, frankly. I think it's too small for anyone's wrist unless you're about 10, which is probably for good reason. But I'm going to find probably a black, or I was thinking about a blue to kind of match the blue bezel, or even a red to match the red buttons. Something fun anyway, as a larger strap to then be able to wear this at things like events, at things like when I do things for work and I talk on stage or whatever it might be, or I'm out at an event with you guys, or whatever it might be, but even on video stuff where it can be fun to have this on. It's a great little talking point, and I can give people the time in Mario's world at any point. So yeah, really chuffed about that. Generally, I smile every time I look at it. It makes me feel super happy, and that was another great pickup. I'm chuffed to bits with it. there we go, guys. That was a bit of a different type of pickups video. So one where I move around a bit, I show you around the room, I show you the sorts of things I'm picking up, and I have no idea if this is good or not. But it's a pickups video. I said I would do one. I will keep tweaking the format about how I do it, but I thought it would just be good to do something a little bit different, and I hope you enjoyed it. And hey, I'll see you on the next video. All right, bye bye.